listen before you ever say a word, before you ever open your mouth. The word is already reading you. Your body speaks louder than your voice. Your walk, your posture, your eyes. They tell the truth about who you are when your mouth tries to lead. If you want respect, if you want influence, if you want to dominate every room you step in, you must master the language that needs no translation, your body language. Because leaders don't just talk, leaders show who they are without saying a word. Presence speaks before words, and most people don't even realize how loud their presence is screaming before they ever open their mouths. When you walk into a room, the energy shifts, and people notice even if they can't explain it. They see the way you carry yourself, the confidence or the insecurity in your shoulders, the determination or the hesitation in your stride, the focus or the confusion in your eyes. Your presence is the silent announcement of who you are. It's the unspoken introduction that tells the world whether they should respect you, trust you, fear you, or ignore you. That's why mastering presence is not an option. It's a requirement if you want to lead, if you want to influence, if you want to be remembered. Think about it. How many times you met someone who never said a single word, but you knew instantly they were someone worth paying attention to? That's presence. It isn't about being loud. It isn't about being arrogant. It isn't about forcing attention. Presence is about controlling the atmosphere around you so that when you show up, people feel it. Presence speaks before words because your body has already told the story of your preparation, your discipline, your confidence, and your purpose. If you stand slouched, eyes on the floor, moving like you're uncertain about where you belong, you've already convinced everyone else that you don't belong. But if you stand tall, chest open, eyes steady, stride strong, you announce yourself as someone who came ready. That doesn't require speaking. That doesn't require explaining. That requires belief in yourself so strong that it radiates without effort. Your presence is not something you turn on only when convenient. It's something you carry every single day because people are always watching, whether you know it or not. The boss at work, the strangers on the street, the family who looks up to you, the competitors who want to beat you. They all read your presence before they hear your words. And in that split second of observation, they've already decided how they're going to treat you. What makes presence so powerful is that it can't be faked for long. You might trick someone for a moment with fancy words or fake confidence, but your presence will eventually expose your truth. If you're lazy, your body language shows it. If you lack discipline, your energy exposes it. If you don't believe in yourself, your eyes give it away. On the other hand, if you've put in the work, if you've embraced the grind, if you've faced your fears and built your confidence, your presence becomes unshakable. People can feel the difference between someone who just talks about greatness and someone who lives it. Presence speaks before words because it's a mirror of the lifestyle you've built when no one is watching. When you walk into an interview, your presence will speak louder than your resume. When you step onto a field or a stage, your presence will speak louder than your reputation. When you meet someone for the first time, your presence will speak louder than your introduction. And if your presence doesn't match your goals, you'll always fall short. You can tell the world you're confident, but if you can't look someone in the eye, they won't believe you. You can tell people you're ready, but if your shoulders are slumped and your hands fidget, they won't trust you. You can tell others you're a leader, but if your energy doesn't demand respect, they won't follow you. Words are easy to say. Presence is impossible to fake. Presence speaks before words because energy is contagious. People can feel confidence, they can feel focus, they can feel drive, and they can feel fear, doubt, and hesitation too. You have to ask yourself, what energy am I transferring to the people around me? Am I inspiring them, motivating them, making them feel stronger by my presence? Or am I draining them, making them doubt me, making them feel uncertain? Because I don't carry myself like I believe in myself. The truth is the world mirrors what you show. If your presence has strength, people will treat you with strength. Weakness, people will treat you with weakness. If your presence says leadership, people will follow. If your presence says hesitation, people will doubt. Presence is the signal that tells others how to treat you before you ever open your mouth. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to have the strongest presence. In fact, many times the person with the quietest voice has the most powerful presence. Because presence isn't about volume. It's about certainty. It's about owning the space you're in, no matter where that is. When you sit down, sit with confidence. When you stand, stand with intention. When you move, move with purpose. Every small action adds up to presence. People respect those who know who they are and don't have to announce it. Presence is silent confidence. It's walking into a room and not needing to prove yourself because your very existence proves enough. Think about great leaders, athletes, warriors. When they step into a space, people notice without a single word being said. Michael Jordan didn't have to tell you he was the best. His presence told you. Ray Lewis didn't have to scream at you to know he meant business. His presence told you. Leaders of families, communities, businesses, they all carry presence that demands attention. And the beautiful thing about presence is it's not just for the chosen few. Anyone can build presence. Presence is built by discipline, by consistency, by how you show up every day, not just when the spotlight is on. If you carry yourself with confidence when nobody's watching, you'll naturally carry it when everybody's watching. Presence isn't built in the moment. It's built in the process leading up to the moment. Your presence can inspire people before you say a single motivational word. It can comfort people before you offer a single promise. It can intimidate your competition before you play a single game. It can command respect before you prove yourself. That's why presence speaks before words. It's the invisible force that moves people without explanation. If you walk into a room full of doubt, people will doubt you. If you walk into a room full of belief, people will believe in you. If you walk into a room full of fear, people will fear for you. But if you walk into a room with conviction, people will follow your conviction. Presence is the language of leadership without sound. And here's the challenge: presence requires awareness. Too many people walk around unconscious of the message they're sending. They think no one notices, but everyone notices. They think their energy doesn't matter, but it does. They think presence is about big moments, but it's about small habits. From the way you shake hands, to the way you sit, to the way you listen, to the way you make eye contact. Your presence is constantly speaking. So the question becomes, what story is your presence telling right now? Are you telling the story of a leader, a fighter, a disciplined person who knows where they're going? Or are you telling the story of someone unsure, unprepared, unwilling to rise to the occasion? Presence speaks before words. And when you truly understand that, you'll stop wasting time trying to convince people with explanations. You won't need to talk so much because your presence will already have convinced them. You won't need to beg for respect because your presence will already demand it. You won't need to explain your worth because your presence will already show it. And once you master that level of presence, the world will start treating you differently. Not because you asked them to, but because you forced them to by the way you carried yourself. Eye contact is your power. And most people underestimate just how much strength is communicated through the eyes before a single word leaves your mouth. The eyes are the gateway to your belief system, the window into your confidence, and the unfiltered expression of your focus. When you look someone in the eyes, you are telling them everything they need to know about your conviction. You're in your certainty. You can dress the part. You can say the right words. You can even fake a smile, but your eyes will expose you. If you lack confidence, it shows. If you're unsure, it shows. If you don't believe in yourself, it shows. But when you lock eyes with someone and refuse to flinch, you project strength, authority, and presence that no amount of words could ever match. That's why eye contact is power. It is silent dominance. It is communication without speaking. It is influence without explanation. Think about how people react when someone avoids eye contact. Immediately, trust is weakened. Confidence is questioned. Respect is lowered. It's not because we're judging. It's because humans instinctively know that eyes never lie. The truth is, if you cannot look a person in the eye, they will never fully believe you. Leaders hold eye contact. Competitors stare their opponents down. Warriors look danger directly in the face. Why? Because eye contact is a declaration of readiness. It's your unspoken way of saying, I belong here. I'm not backing down. I'm not afraid. That kind of communication reaches the soul in ways that no speech could ever do. When you're speaking to someone and you hold their eyes, you're giving them a message of respect and focus. You're telling them, you have my full attention. And in a world full of distractions, that level of attention is rare. It sets you apart immediately. People are starving to be seen, starving to be heard, starving to be recognized. By simply holding eye contact, you're feeding that hunger and showing that you're not only present, but powerful enough to give them undivided attention. And the person on the other side feels it deeply. They feel valued, they feel acknowledged, and they feel your confidence in a way that makes them respond with trust. That's how influence is built, through small, powerful acts of human connection that begin with the eyes. Eye contact is also a test. It's a test of who you are and how much belief you carry inside yourself. Because it's easy to look away. It's easy to hide behind your phone, your words, or your nervous gestures. But when you look someone directly in the eyes, you strip away all the excuses. You force yourself to stand in your truth. That's why interviews are won or lost through eye contact. That's why leaders command rooms without saying a word. That's why athletes intimidate opponents long before the game begins. It's because the eyes communicate certainty. They communicate discipline. They communicate a level of belief that can't be shaken by silence or fear. Every time you walk into a room, your eyes are speaking. Are they telling people you're unsure, insecure, afraid? Or are they telling people you're confident, grounded, and unshakable? When you're given a presentation, do your eyes connect with your audience, making every person feel like you're speaking directly to them? Or do they wander, searching for escape, revealing that you don't believe in your own message? When you're meeting someone new, do your eyes declare respect and attention? Or do they look away, betraying doubt and hesitation? This is the difference between leaders and followers. Leaders look people in the eyes and communicate power without ever needing to raise their voices. Followers avoid the eyes and communicate weakness even when their words try to say otherwise. The power of eye contact is also about energy. Your eyes transfer energy. They can encourage or discourage. They can strengthen or weaken. They can comfort or intimidate. They can give someone courage or strip it away. That's why when a coach looks an athlete in the eyes and says, I believe in you, it hits different. That's why when a leader looks a team in the eyes and says, follow me, it carries weight. That's why when a competitor looks their opponent in the eyes and says, nothing, the silence itself is louder than words. Because the eyes project energy that is undeniable. If you're filled with doubt, that doubt will transfer. If you're filled with belief, that belief will transfer. And people will respond not to what you say, but to what your eyes told them first. Think about the greatest leaders in history, the greatest athletes, the greatest warriors. Their eyes told a story. Before they spoke, before they acted, before they moved, their eyes revealed a fire that could not be extinguished. That fire is what inspired armies to march, teams to fight, and communities to believe. The power wasn't just in their speeches, it was in the conviction their eyes carried. That's what you must learn to master. To use your eyes not as passive tools, but as weapons of influence, as instruments of connection, as channels of energy that transfer your belief to anyone who encounters them. Eye contact isn't just about confidence, it's also about honesty. People know when you're lying because your eyes betray you. They know when you're hiding something. They know when you're unsure. They know when you're nervous. Your eyes are incapable of deception over time. That's why building integrity, discipline, and belief within yourself is so important. Because if your inside doesn't match your outside, your eyes will expose it. If you haven't done prepared, if you haven't disciplined yourself, your eyes will reveal the weakness. But if you've put in hours, if you fought through the pain, if you've embraced the grind, your eyes will glow with confidence that no one can ignore. That's why eye contact is power. It's not just what you do in the moment. It's what you've done behind the scenes that shows up in the moment. When you're in a confrontation, whether verbal or physical, eye contact is the line in the sand. Whoever looks away first usually surrenders power. That's why fighters stare each other down before a match. That's why soldiers are trained to look threats directly in the eyes. That's why negotiators hold steady eye contact until the deal is closed. Because eye contact communicates dominance. And dominance usually dictates the outcome. If you break eye contact too soon, you've already given away leverage. If you hold it, you declare, I'm here, I'm unshaken, I will not be moved. That kind of silent statement carries more weight than 1,000 spoken words. Even in everyday life, eye contact can change how people perceive you. A firm handshake combined with steady eye contact builds instant respect. A conversation where you maintain consistent eye contact builds instant trust. A moment where you connect with someone through the eyes creates a bond that words can't replicate. That's why people remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Because feelings are transferred through eyes, not through speeches. The real mastery of eye contact is not just in holding it, but in controlling it. Knowing when to soften it to show empathy, when to sharpen it to show intensity, when to sustain it to show dominance, and when to break it to show humility. It's a skill, and like any skill, it requires awareness and practice. You can train yourself to become comfortable with eye contact, to use it intentionally rather than accidentally. And once you master it, you'll find that people respond differently. They listen more, they trust more, they respect more, because they feel the certainty behind your gaze. Eye contact is your power because it's the most direct, unfiltered form of communication you possess. It's faster than words, stronger than gestures, and more telling than tone. It reveals who you are in an instant. It commands attention without asking for it. It demands respect without begging for it. It creates connection without forcing it. And it inspires belief without needing proof. That's why you cannot underestimate the power of your eyes, because long before your words are heard, your eyes have already spoken the truth about you. Posture builds confidence, and the way you carry yourself is the foundation of how the world measures your strength before you say a single word. Posture is more than the alignment of your back and shoulders. It's the physical manifestation of your belief system, the outer expression of your inner certainty, the body's way of telling the truth about what you stand for. Walk into a room slouched, head down, dragging your feet, and you've already surrendered the respect you could have commanded. Stand tall, chest open, shoulders squared, eyes forward. And before you even introduce yourself, people know they are dealing with someone who believes, someone who commands, someone who refuses to be overlooked. Posture is not about vanity, it's about presence. It's about projecting to the world that you're ready, that you are grounded, that you cannot be shaken. Think of a soldier standing at attention or an athlete standing on the field waiting for the game to begin. Their posture speaks louder than any introduction. You don't question their readiness. You don't question their discipline because their body language announces it before their voice does. And that is the secret most people miss. Your posture is not just about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. The way you carry your body directly impacts the way you think, the way you feel, the way you perform. Stand tall and you breathe deeper. You feel stronger. You think clearer, slouch. and you restrict your lungs, you weaken your presence, you shrink not only physically, but mentally. The mind and body are connected, and posture is the bridge that controls that connection. When you allow yourself to move through the world with weak posture, you invite weakness into your life. You invite doubt, hesitation, and uncertainty to sit in your mind. But when you discipline yourself to maintain strong posture, you are constantly reinforcing confidence, constantly reminding yourself and everyone else that you are capable and unafraid. That's why posture builds confidence. It's a physical habit that creates a mental reality. And confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you create through the way you live, through the way you breathe, through the way you stand. Consider how quickly people judge you based on posture alone. In a job interview, you may have all the qualifications in the world, but if you sit slouched, arms crossed, avoiding eye contact, your posture has already told the interviewer that you lack belief. In competition, if you let your shoulders drop and your head hang after a mistake, you've already told your opponent that you're beaten. In leadership, if you carry yourself timidly, your team feels it and they will hesitate to follow you. But flip it around. Walk into an interview sitting tall, leaning forward with purpose, shoulders steady, and you communicate confidence before you even answer the first question. Make a mistake in competition, but keep your head high, chest up, shoulders back. And your opponent wonders why you're still so composed. Lead with posture that radiates conviction, and your team will follow because they feel safe under the guidance of someone unshaken. Posture builds confidence not just in yourself, but in everyone watching you. There is science behind it as well. Studies show that body posture directly influences hormones related to confidence and stress. Standing tall with strong posture actually increases testosterone, the hormone of dominance, and reduces cortisol, the hormone of stress. In other words, your posture literally changes your chemistry. It changes how your body responds to pressure, how your mind responds to challenge. That's why athletes are trained to stand strong even when they're exhausted. That's why soldiers are drilled to hold formation even when under attack. That's why leaders are reminded to keep their bodies open and expansive in the face of adversity. Because posture is not just symbolic, it's functional. It primes your body for confidence. It prepares your mind for resilience. It makes your presence undeniable. Posture builds confidence because it creates alignment between who you want to be and how you show up. Too many people walk around with goals, dreams, and ambitions, but their body doesn't reflect it. They talk about being leaders, but their shoulders slouch like followers. They talk about being warriors, but their heads hang like victims. They talk about being disciplined, but their posture screams distraction and weakness. If you want to be taken seriously, if you want to live up to the image you hold in your head, your body must match your vision. Posture is the first step in aligning your outer world with your inner world. And once you align those two, confidence becomes natural. Think of moments when you felt unstoppable. Chances are your posture reflected it. Head high, chest open, moving with certainty. Not moments when you felt defeated. Chances are your posture reflected that too. Slumped shoulders, head down, movements hesitant. This is not coincidence. This is connection. The body reflects the mind, but the body also shapes the mind. That means you don't have to wait to feel confident to carry yourself with confidence. You can build confidence by choosing to stand, sit, and move with strength even when you feel weak. And over time, your mind catches up to your body. You create a cycle of confidence by practicing confident posture until it becomes second nature. Posture is also communication. It tells the world how much respect you demand and how much respect you're willing to give. A person who stands strong but open communicates authority without arrogance. A person who slouches communicates defeat before they've even spoken. A person who puffs their chest out too much communicates insecurity disguised as confidence. Real posture is balanced. It's strength without stiffness, confidence without cockiness, openness without weakness. And when you master that balance, people trust you, people follow you, people respect you because your posture communicates all the qualities they're looking for in a leader. When you step onto a stage, your posture determines how the audience receives you. If you stride out with shoulders back and head up, people immediately lean in because they sense your confidence. When you walk into a boardroom, your posture determines whether your ideas will be heard. If you stand like you belong there, your voice carries more weight. When you walk into a tough situation, your posture determines how people will respond. If you hold yourself like a victim, they will treat you like one. If you hold yourself like a victor, they will treat you accordingly. That's why posture builds confidence. It sets the standard for how others see you and how you see yourself. Even in solitude, posture matters. The way you sit when you're working, the way you stand when you're thinking, the way you move through your day when no one is watching, it all reinforces either strength or weakness. And those private habits eventually show up in public. You cannot slouch in private and expect to stand tall in public. You cannot train your body to collapse when tired and expected, strong when challenged. Discipline and posture, like discipline and mindset, is a daily commitment. Every moment you choose to carry yourself with strength, you're building confidence brick by brick, rep by rep, until it becomes who you are. Look at history. Great leaders always carried themselves with posture that reflected greatness. Their words were powerful, yes, but their posture gave those words weight. A speech from a slouched man would not have moved nations. A command from a timid body would not have inspired armies. A lesson from a collapsed figure would not have stirred belief. It was the posture, upright, commanding, open, that made people feel safe, made people feel inspired, made people believe. And if posture had the power to move nations, imagine the power it has in your own daily life. Confidence is built by repetition. Just as lifting weights builds muscle, practicing strong posture builds confidence. It is a physical workout for your mental state. Every time you catch yourself slouching and correct it, you're training your mind to choose strength over weakness. Every time you remind yourself to stand tall in adversity, you're training your spirit to believe even when circumstances say otherwise. Over time, posture becomes a habit and confidence becomes a lifestyle. And people will notice the difference. They'll see it in the way you enter a room, the way you sit in a chair, the way you carry yourself when things get tough. They'll feel it without you saying a word, because posture is the body's way of saying, I am ready, I am capable, I am confident. Posture builds confidence because it forces alignment between thought and action. You cannot think small while standing tall. You cannot feel weak while holding strong posture. You cannot live timidly while moving boldly. Your posture shapes your state, and your state shapes your destiny. That's why every leader, every athlete, every warrior pays attention to posture. It's not a detail, it's a foundation. It's not a suggestion, it's a necessity. Posture is the framework upon which confidence is built. The unspoken language that tells the world exactly who you are before your mouth ever opens. Gestures command influence, and every movement you make with your hands, arms, and body sends a message that people receive long before they process your words. The human mind is wired to watch movement, to interpret gestures as signals of authority, intention, and emotion. Think about it. When someone points with confidence, it directs attention. When someone opens their hands, it signals honesty and connection. When someone crosses their arms tightly, it communicates defensiveness and resistance. Your gestures are painting a picture of who you are, whether you're aware of it or not. And that picture will either elevate your influence or destroy it. The difference between a leader who moves people with passion and one who gets ignored often comes down to how they use their gestures. It's not about random movement. It's about intentional communication, commanding space with authority and clarity. Gestures are extensions of your words, amplifiers of your voice. When you speak and your gestures align with your message, the impact multiplies. People don't just hear what you're saying, they feel it. They see your conviction. They recognize the energy radiating from your body, and it leaves no room for doubt. But when your gestures contradict your words, when your arms are folded while you're talking about openness, when your hands are hidden while you're speaking about confidence, when your movements are frantic while you're trying to communicate calm, your influence crumbles. People don't trust what doesn't align. Gestures are the proof that your words are real. And when they match, your influence becomes unstoppable. Think about great speakers, great athletes, great leaders. They don't just talk their entire bodies. They command attention with a pointed finger. They inspire belief with an open palm. They demand respect with strong, decisive movements. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words carry power, but watch the way his arms move with rhythm, the way his hands cut through the air, the way his gestures embodied the dream he was describing. Muhammad Ali spoke boldly, but he also gestured boldly. His hands up, his body moving, his presence magnified by the way he carried himself. Ray Lewis himself, every time he spoke to his team, his gestures matched his intensity, pointing, pounding, opening, moving with purpose that made his words feel alive. That's what gestures do. They give words a body. They give thoughts a physical presence. They make the invisible visible. Gestures also expand your presence. When you use your arms with openness, when you move with intention, you occupy more space, and occupying space is influence. People who shrink their gestures, who keep their hands hidden, who move timidly, are subconsciously telling the world, I don't deserve this space. I don't belong here. But people who expand their gestures, who own the space they're in, who move with boldness, are saying, this is my territory, this is my moment, this is where I lead by. Influence is about space, who controls it, who commands it, who owns it, and gestures are one of the most powerful tools to claim that space. Gestures are emotional transmitters. You can say you're passionate, but if your hands hang lifelessly by your side, no one will believe it. You can say you're calm, but if your arms flail wild, no one will feel it. You can say you're confident, but if your gestures are stiff and robotic, no one will trust it. Influence is not about what you claim, it's about what people feel. And gestures make people feel. They amplify your tone, your energy, your intensity. They're the difference between flat words and living words, between ideas that stay in people's ears and ideas that embed in their hearts. Watch the difference between someone giving a speech with gestures and someone standing stiff like a statue. The words may be the same, but the impact is night and day. The one who gestures with power draws people in, makes them lean forward, makes them believe. The one who stands stiff gets ignored, no matter how brilliant the words are. That's because influence is not just about logic. It's about emotion, and emotion is carried through movement. When your gestures are alive, your message becomes alive. And when your gestures are dead, your message dies with them. Gestures also establish rhythm. Influence requires rhythm, a flow that makes people follow along, makes them anticipate, makes them feel the beat of your message. When you use your hands to mark points, to emphasize words, to carve patterns in the air, you're not just speaking, you're conducting, you're creating music out of words, and your gestures are the instruments. They tell people when to lean in, when to pause, when to feel the weight of what you're saying. Without gestures, words can become monotone. With gestures, words become a symphony. Gestures command influence because they connect you to your audience on a primal level. Long before humans had language, we had gestures. A raised hand meant stop. An open palm meant peace. A pointed finger meant direction. These signals are hardwired into us. They bypass the logical brain and go straight to the instinctive one. That's why gestures are so powerful, because they speak a language older than words, a language everyone understands without translation. When you master that language, you influence people in ways they can't even explain. They just feel it. But gestures must be intentional. Random nervous movements weaken influence. Fidgeting, tapping, hiding your hands, these just betray insecurity. They distract from your message. They tell people that you're uncomfortable, unprepared, unsure. Influence is never gained through distraction, it's gained through clarity. When you move your hands, move them with purpose. When you point with intention. When you open your arms, open them fully. Don't halfway gesture. Don't let your body betray your uncertainty. Own your movements, and your movements will own the room. Even small gestures can command influence when they're purposeful. A subtle nod can show agreement and build trust. A raised hand can pause a room and bring silence. A clenched fist can inspire power and unity. A pointed finger can direct attention like a spotlight. These small gestures, when timed correctly, carry massive weight. They show that you are in control, that you are aware, that you are leading not just with words, but with presence. Influence is not about volume, it's about control. And gestures give you that control. Gestures also create connection. When you open your arms while speaking, you invite people in. When you use your hands to mirror the emotions of your words, people feel closer to you. When you gesture in ways that match the rhythm of your audience, nodding when they nod, moving when they move, you build rapport without effort. People follow those they feel connected to, and gestures are a direct pathway to connection. They show empathy, they show energy, they show humanity. And when people feel connected, they are more likely to be influenced. In leadership, gestures can be the difference between a command that inspires and a command that falls flat. A leader who gestures with strength when giving direction is not just telling people what to do. They're showing belief in it. Their movements communicate certainty, and that certainty transfers to the team. A leader who gestures timidly, who hides their hands, who moves without purpose, undermines their own authority. Their words might be right, but their body betrays doubt, and people don't follow doubt. They follow conviction, and gestures are the physical proof of conviction. Gestures command influence in conflict as well. When tension rises, the way you move determines whether you escalate or de-escalate. Open palms can calm a heated exchange. Pointed gestures can assert authority. Controlled movements can show discipline. Wild movements can show loss of control. People in conflict don't just hear words, they watch bodies. If your gestures show steadiness, they'll respect you. If your gestures show chaos, they'll dismiss you. Influence in conflict is not about shouting louder, it's about moving smarter. Gestures also affect you internally. Just as posture influences confidence, gestures influence mindset. When you move your hands boldly while you speak, you feel bolder. When you gesture with intensity, your energy rises. When you use your hands to cut through the air, you feel like you're cutting through doubt. Gestures don't just project influence outward, they reinforce it inward. They remind you of your power. They activate your energy, they lock your focus. The body and mind are linked, and gestures are one of the fastest ways to trigger that link. Influence is about alignment of words, tone, posture, and movement. Gestures are the glue that holds it together. Without them, the message feels incomplete. When the message feels whole, they take abstract and give them shape. They take invisible emotions and give them form. They take spoken words and make them visible. And people remember what they see longer than what they hear. That's why gestures are so powerful, because they create memory. They burn the message into people's minds, not just through sound, but through sight. Gestures command influence because they allow you to own the room. They set the rhythm. They direct the focus. They shape the energy. They turn speeches into experiences, conversations into connections, leadership into inspiration. They are the invisible hand that guides attention, the unspoken language that demands respect, the physical proof that your words are alive. Every gesture is an opportunity to reinforce your influence or weaken it. Every movement is either building trust or breaking it. Every time you raise your hand, point, open, or close, you are sending signals that people cannot ignore. That is why mastering gestures is mastering influence. Energy transfers through movement, and every step you take, every motion you make, is sending a current into the world that people feel whether they realize it or not. Human beings are emotional receivers. We don't just hear words, we absorb energy. The way you walk into a room, the way you shake a hand, the way you carry yourself, and every motion tells people what kind of fire lives inside you. If your movements are slow, hesitant, dragging, then people feel your doubt. They feel your lack of urgency. They feel your low energy. But when your movements are sharp, purposeful, and filled with intent, people feel your confidence, your focus, your determination. Movement is not random, it's communication. It is the unspoken current that passes from your body into the bodies of everyone watching. Think about how a team reacts when their leader walks with power, with energy radiating through every stride. The team feeds on it. They rise to the occasion because the leader's movement has transferred belief. Now think about how a room deflates when a leader drags themselves in, head down, shoulder slump. Movement's weak. That energy transfers too, and it poisons the atmosphere. Energy is contagious, and your movements are the way you spread it. That's why you must treat every movement like a message, because it is. Every step you take says something. Every motion you make either lifts people or lowers them. When you understand that energy transfers through movement, you realize why it's impossible to hide your true state. People may not know what you're thinking, but they can feel what you're carrying. You might say you're confident, but if your steps are unsure, your body exposes you. You might claim you're ready, but if your handshake is limp, your energy betrays you. You might try to pretend you're calm, but if your movements are jittery, people will feel your anxiety. Movement doesn't lie. It reveals the truth about what's inside, and that truth spreads to others whether you want it to or not. Energy through movement can inspire and it can intimidate. Watch an athlete warming up before a game. The way they bounce on their toes, the way they move with quickness and sharpness, the way their body radiates readiness, it makes the opponent feel pressure before the game even starts. That's not words doing the work, that's movement transferring energy. Watch a speaker on stage who paces with intention, who uses their body to emphasize their message, who moves in rhythm with their words. The audience doesn't just hear them. That's not accidental. It's the deliberate use of movement as a channel of energy. Movement also dictates tempo in any environment, sports, business, leadership. The person who controls the tempo controls the outcome. If your movements are rushed and frantic, you spread chaos. If your movements are slow and sluggish, you spread complacency. But if your movements are deliberate, steady, and purposeful, you spread confidence and control. People match the tempo you set. That's why leaders must be intentional with how they move, because others will follow. Your energy becomes their energy. And if your movement carries strength, you'll create strength in those around you. Energy transfers through movement because the body is a signal system. The brain reads motion faster than words. When someone moves with urgency, others pick up urgency. When someone moves with calm precision, others pick up calm. This is primal. It's built into human survival. Early humans relied on the movement of the tribe to know whether danger was near or whether safety was secure. That instinct is still alive in us, and we mirror it. That's why a leader's body sets the tone for the entire group. If your movement says fear, they'll feel fear. If your movement says confidence, they'll feel confidence. Think of the moments when you've been inspired not by what someone said, but by how they moved. A coach walking the sidelines with passion, clapping, urging, moving with fire. That energy transfers and the team responds. A leader walking into a tough meeting with strong strides, firm gestures, and controlled movements. That energy transfer in the room says even a parent walking a situation with calm but decisive movement transfers safety and security to their children. Movement is not just about you. It's about the energy you give to others through the way you carry yourself. Energy through movement also creates momentum. Momentum is built through consistent actions that accumulate over time, and the body is the driver of that process. When you move with discipline, when you repeat purposeful actions daily, you create energy that builds upon itself. Every workout rep, every lap, every practice, every step taken with intent builds momentum. And momentum is power. It's why successful people keep moving. They don't let themselves stay still because they know stillness drains energy while movement generates it. Even when they're tired, they move. Even when they're unsure, they move. Because movement itself transfers energy back into their spirit and into the people around them. Energy is also transferred through small moves, not just big ones. A firm handshake transfers confidence. A strong nod transfers respect. A high five transfers encouragement. A clap transfers urgency. These small motions, when done with purpose, elevate the energy in a room. People feel them. They respond. That's why great leaders never underestimate the power of small movements. They know that every action communicates and every action transfers energy. But just as energy can be transferred positively, it can also be transferred negatively. Nervous movements transfer insecurity. Sluggish movements transfer laziness. Aggressive, uncontrolled movements transfer instability. People feed on whatever you give them. If you walk into a space with drained energy, you drain the space. If you walk in charge and focused, you charge the space. Influence is not just about what you say. It's about the energy people feel when you're present. That energy is shaped and spread through movement. Energy transfers through movement because the body is always broadcasting. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are constantly sending signals. If your head is down, you're broadcasting defeat. If your shoulders are slumped, you're broadcasting doubt. If your steps are dragging, you're broadcasting fatigue. But if your head is up, if your shoulders are back, if your steps are firm and confident, you're broadcasting belief. And people tune into that broadcast instantly. They don't need to hear your story. They already feel it through the way you move. Watch how contagious energy is in a crowd. One person clapping can turn an entire room applauding. One person standing can turn into an entire audience rising. One player diving for a ball can ignite an entire team to play harder. None of that started with words. It started with movement. One action transferred energy, and the ripple spread. That's why you must be mindful of your own movements, because you're always starting ripples, whether you know it or not. The question is, are you creating ripples of strength or ripples of weakness? Movement also anchors memory. People remember not just what you said, but how you move when you said it. They remember the energy you carried, the gestures you used, the way your body expressed belief. That's why great speeches live on, not just because of the words, but because of the energy transferred through movement that became unforgettable. When people think of leaders, they remember how they moved. They remember the fire in their steps, the conviction in their gestures, the energy they carried. Movement becomes part of your legacy, part of how people recall you, part of how they feel about you long after you're gone. Energy through movement requires discipline. You cannot expect to carry high energy if you live with weak habits. The body reflects what it's trained to do. If you train your body to move with intensity, to carry itself with strength, to act with purpose, then when pressure comes, you move the same way. But if you train your body in laziness and slowness and hesitation, then under pressure, that's exactly how you'll move. Discipline and movement is discipline and energy. It's preparing your body to transfer the right message, no matter the circumstance. Energy is never neutral. You're either giving it or taking it, building it or breaking it, transferring strength or transferring weakness. And people around you are always catching it. That's why every leader, every competitor, every warrior must take ownership of their movement. You cannot afford to move carelessly, because every careless movement sends a careless message. You cannot afford to move lazily, because every lazy movement drags others down with you. But when you move with energy, when you move with belief, when you move with intent, you elevate not only yourself, but everyone connected to you. Energy transfers through movement because motion is life. When the body moves, the spirit rises. When the body stands still, the spirit stagnates. If you want to build influence, if you want to command respect, if you want to inspire others, you must move with energy that communicates conviction. Walk into every room like you belong. Shake every hand like it matters. Carry yourself in a way that transfers belief to those who have none. Move with urgency that makes others feel urgency. Move with power that makes others feel power. Move with focus that makes others feel focus. Because when your movements transfer energy, you don't just exist in the space, you change the space. Consistency creates trust because people don't believe what you say once, they believe what you show over and over again. Words without repetition are just noise, but actions repeated day after day carve themselves into the memory of others until they become truth. Trust is not built in a moment. It's built brick by brick through consistent behavior, through consistent effort, through consistent energy. When people see you showing up the same way, no matter the circumstance, no matter the pressure, no matter the obstacles, they begin to trust that who you are is not an act, it's your identity. Consistency makes you predictable in the right way. It tells the world, this is who I am, and you can count on it. Think about the leaders you respect the most. It's not the ones who were great for a week and disappeared. It's not the ones who showed energy one day and vanished the next. It's the ones who kept coming, who kept showing up with the same fire, the same discipline, the same intensity, no matter what. You trusted them because you knew exactly what you were going to get. Their consistency became their credibility. Their habits became their reputation. Their repetition became their legacy. And that's why consistency creates trust. It tells people they can depend on you. In sports, consistency separates the good from the great. Anybody can play one great game. Anybody can make one highlight. Anybody can show flashes of brilliance. But greatness is not flashes. It's a flame that never goes out. The great ones deliver every game, every practice, every rep. Teammates trust them because they know that energy, that focus, that commitment is not going to vanish when the lights dim or when adversity hits. And that trust becomes the foundation for victory. A team that can trust its leader because of their consistency will fight harder, go further, and believe deeper. In life, consistency builds trust in relationships, in business, in every arena. If you're a leader in your family, your consistency builds security for the people you love. If you're disciplined today, but reckless tomorrow, they never know what to expect from you, and trust erodes. But if you are steady, if you are dependable, if you show up with the same love, the same effort, the same standard every day, they know they can trust you. Trust is emotional safety, and consistency is the path to it. People are watching you every day. They're not just listening to your words, they're measuring your patterns. If your words and your patterns don't align, they won't trust you. If you say you'll do something but only follow through sometimes, they won't trust you. But if you are consistent, if you do what you say every time, even when it costs you, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching, people begin to trust you without question. They stop needing proof because your pattern has already proven it. Consistency creates trust because it reveals discipline. Anyone can be passionate in the moment, but it takes discipline to be passionate every day. Anyone can show intensity when they're motivated, but it takes discipline to show intensity when they're tired, when they're frustrated, when they're facing resistance. That discipline communicates something deeper. It shows people that your standard is not dependent on circumstances. It's dependent on who you are. That's when trust grows. People trust what they can see is not conditional. And the only way to prove that is through consistency. Look at nature. It teaches this principle every day. The sun rises every morning. The tides move every day. The seasons change without fail. That consistency is why we trust them. We plan our lives around them because they do not break their rhythm. If the sun rose randomly, if the tides move without pattern, if the seasons shifted without order, chaos would exist. The same is true for humans. If your energy, your word, your effort is unpredictable, people cannot build with you. But when you are consistent, when your movement and your word are like the rising sun, steady and reliable, people will anchor themselves to you. Consistency also builds self-trust. If you don't keep promises to yourself, you won't believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will either. Self-trust is born from consistency. When you tell yourself you'll wake up early and you actually do, trust grows. When you tell yourself you'll work out and you actually show up, trust grows. When you tell yourself you'll stay disciplined and you keep that line, trust grows. Each consistent action tells your mind that your word is value. And when your word is value to yourself, it will have value to others. People can feel whether you trust yourself or not, and they'll only trust you as much as you trust yourself. Consistency creates trust because it eliminates doubt. When you are inconsistent, people always question what version of you they're going to get. Will you be strong today or weak, focused today or distracted, present today or absent? That doubt creates instability. But when you are consistent, when your energy, your focus, your standard does not waver, there is no doubt. People don't question, they know. They know what to expect from you because you've proven it again and again. And that knowledge creates security. It's the same in business. Customers trust brands not because of one great experience, because of repeated great experiences. If a company delivers one time and fails, the next trust disappears. But if they deliver excellence over and over, customers become loyal. They don't even think twice because consistency has built trust. That same principle applies to you. If you want loyalty, if you want respect, if you want people to follow you, you must be consistent. That is the currency of trust. Consistency also creates trust in leadership because it makes you reliable under pressure. Pressure exposes most people. They crack, they fold, they change. But if you are consistent under pressure, if your standard doesn't fall when the weight increases, people trust you with more responsibility. They trust you in the moments that matter most because you've proven your consistency in smaller moments. Every small act of consistency prepares you for the big moments. And when those moments come, people will lean on you because they've seen you handle the grind day after day. The truth is, consistency is not glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not exciting in the moment. It's repetitive. It's routine. It's the same thing done with the same energy over and over again. That's why most people quit. They crave the high of inspiration, not the grind of consistency. But inspiration without consistency doesn't build trust. It gives a spark and then leaves darkness. Trust is the fire that only comes from keeping the flame alive every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Consistency creates trust because it shows commitment. People don't trust half-hearted effort. They trust relentless commitment. When you keep showing up with the same standard, even when it's boring, when it's painful, even when it's inconvenient, people know you are truly committed. And commitment is the deepest form of trust. People will follow someone who is committed because they know that person will not quit on them. They know that person will not disappear when it gets hard. They know that person's word and actions are tied together through consistency. Think about the word trustworthy. It literally means worthy of trust. And what makes someone worthy of trust? Not promises, not one-time actions, but a proven pattern. You don't become trustworthy because you say you are. You become trustworthy because you've shown it through repetition. Trustworthy people are consistent people. They show up the same, they act the same, they hold the same standard. Their life is not random, it's reliable. Consistency also creates trust because it removes fear. People fear uncertainty. They fear instability. They fear not knowing what's coming. Inconsistency fuels that fear, but consistency removes it. When you are steady, people around you feel safe. They don't have to waste energy wondering about you. They don't have to second guess. They don't have to protect themselves from your unpredictability. That safety turns into trust, and that trust becomes loyalty. Trust is not built in the big moments. It's built in the small ones. Every time you show up on time, you're building trust. Every time you follow through, you're building trust. Every time you deliver the same effort, you're building trust. Those small actions pile up until people realize they can count on you without question. That's when trust becomes automatic. That's when your consistency becomes your identity. Consistency creates trust because it proves authenticity. Anyone can put on a show once. Anyone can fake strength for a moment. Anyone can pretend for a short time. But nobody can fake consistency. If you're consistent, it means it's real. It means it's not a mask. It's not a performance. It's who you are. People trust authenticity, and authenticity is revealed through consistent action. When they see you day after day, year after year, standing on the same principles, holding the same standard, delivering the same energy, they know you are real. And real is trustworthy. In the end, consistency is not just about doing things over and over. It's about doing them with the same intensity, the same purpose, the same standard. It's about refusing to let circumstances change your character. It's about refusing to let fatigue weaken your effort. It's about refusing to let setbacks lower your standard. It's about being the same in the dark as you are in the light. It's about being steady when the world shakes. It's about showing people through your actions that they can trust you, not just once, but always. And that is why consistency creates trust.